We'll start very simply. Please tell us who you are and what you do.
I'm Jowell. I am the director of the Bingham Centre for the Rule of Law in London, which is a body that's devoted to the study, promotion and education and training about the rule of law. I'm also a practicing barrister at Blackstone Chambers, and I'm a Professor Emeritus at University College London, a Professor of Public Law.
Thank you. And tell us what you were talking about here today.
I was talking about the rule of law, which is a difficult concept to get hold of. We all know that it's probably a good thing, but we don't know much about it. And that's because it has three aspects to it. First of all, it requires law and not anarchy. Law and order, as opposed to just total chaos. And everyone should really obey the law. Nobody will do it perfectly. And the government should certainly obey the law as well. So that's the first aspect. The second aspect is law rather than tyranny. So law must be certain. People must know what it is, more or less, or be able to have access to it. It shouldn't change all the time without going through proper procedures. People shouldn't be surprised by the fact that there's suddenly a new law or a law about them, or that the law application is distorted by corruption, and the law must be applied equally. So that's the second aspect of the rule of law, which is very important, because the law must be applied to the rich and the poor and the powerful and the marginalised. And the third aspect of the rule of law is access to justice, that people ought to be able to challenge decisions made about them, and when they do so, they should be able to get into a court or other tribunal where they have a fair trial before an independent judge. And there again, if the judge isn't independent and always finds against the government come what may, then you don't have an independent judiciary and you don't have the rule of law.
Thank you. What countries are you involved in at the moment? Where are you prioritising your time?
The Bingham Centre is involved in countries as far apart as Burma, Myanmar, where we're helping with constitutional reform, the Palestine Authority on the West Bank, where we're looking at issues of the balance between the judiciary and the Ministry of Justice. We're working in Kenya and South Africa on judicial appointments, in Bahrain, in Libya and the United Kingdom, because the rule of law is never perfect and often falls short, as it does here from time to time.
Could you give us a few examples of where it's falling short in the UK?
Well, legal aid is being greatly diminished, so if people who haven't got the means find it difficult or impossible to actually challenge decisions about them or go to law in some way, then the rule of law falls short. And the government has sought to reform judicial review of administration, that is, decisions made about any public official. It's one of the great virtues of the British legal system, a great development that allows you to challenge any public official, any member of government, however high or however low. Well, the government feels that too many people are taking advantage of that, and the question is, if they cut off our access to judicial review, would that fall short of the rule of law? And then there's the issue of secret trials in terrorist cases and the dangers of that, and we've been putting our minds to that as well.
And here, at this festival, have you sort of met and engaged with people who would be able to help your work?
That was a real eye-opener, because I came here not knowing quite what to expect, and immediately met about 3 or 4 people who we exchanged views, realised that we could do a lot together in the future. We exchanged addresses, and it's been a revelation and very gratifying from that point of view, apart from the beauty of the place and the elegance of the surroundings and the hospitality generally. I've only been here for 2 days. This is my first time here, but it's been a huge success as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you. And some of these connections that you've made, is that in the UK or is that abroad as well?
Some in the UK and some are abroad. I just met somebody from Sri Lanka who's doing similar work. Somebody in the Commonwealth Secretariat. We suddenly realised we're both doing work on educating 11 to 14-year-olds in rule of law. They're involved in it as well as part of the Commonwealth Games. We've got a pilot scheme going on that subject. So we're working with them, hope to work with them on that. That all happened here this morning.
Splendid, thank you. And may I ask, feel free if you don't want to answer this, but I was wondering about your views on the Conservative plans to limit the power of the European Court of Human Rights. Is that something you might have a view on, and if you would care to share it?
Well, yes, we do have a view of that in the Bingham Centre for the Rule of Law. We believe that the European Court of Human Rights has been one of the great success stories of the past, well, since the end of the Second World War, because the European Convention on Human Rights, which is what the European Court applies, has bound almost 50 countries in a common law of human rights. These were countries who knew nothing about human rights, who disregarded them mostly, except for about 3 or 4 at the beginning. Now there are 40 to 50, all applying the same law, same standards of human rights. If we withdraw from that, if we say it's for the others and not for us, we believe that would send out an important signal to other countries who would prefer not to be bound to human rights, and that they would follow suit. Particularly since Britain, the United Kingdom, was one of the founders of the European Convention of Human Rights. There were mainly people from this country who drafted it.
So you would resist the idea of a British Bill of Rights?
I wouldn't mind a British Bill of Rights if it was European Convention plus. But if it were European Convention minus, I think there'd be real problems, because other members of the Council of Europe would feel that they too can pick and choose which rights they want to apply.